Have you ever been in the middle of spiraling and thought, I know exactly why I'm feeling this way and still couldn't stop it?
Like you can name the trigger, the attachment style, the coping mechanism, and you're still crying in your car.
Today, we're talking about emotional awareness overload when understanding yourself deeply doesn't actually make anything easier. Hey, friends, welcome back to the Sisterhood Tea Party podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Jessica, and today we're unpacking something that feels very modern.
We live in the era of self-awareness, therapy language, trauma vocabulary, nervous system regulation, attachment styles, all the things. And it's powerful, it's helpful, it's truly changed some lives.
But sometimes it's exhausting because you don't just feel something anymore. You analyze it, you trace it, you diagnose it, and you try to optimize it.
And at some point, you're like, can I just be upset without turning it into a full case study? So we're going to start here. Jess, when did you first realize self-awareness was starting to feel heavy instead of empowering?
I think for me, it was when I realized I could explain every single detail about my emotions better than I could actually process it.
That's very, very real. Like you can narrate kind of what's going on, but you're still very much in it.
Yeah, exactly. I actually had this realization in therapy. Was seeing this therapist who was incredibly helpful, and I could describe and overanalyze every single painful thing that had ever happened to me as a child, as a teenager, as an adult, like every aspect of my life. I could analyze exactly why it was affecting my current behaviors and what was going on. And I just like didn't know how to fix it. And I genuinely remember having this conversation with my therapist where I was like, yeah. I know all that. Okay. Like, but I like it's all still happening. I'm still feeling this way. And she had me do this super powerful exercise where she did a guided meditation with me and walked me through some pretty healing situations. I won't go into all the details, but it helped me to feel like what the exercise was like to force me to like feel the emotions and my body. And I remember before she had me do this, I was like asking her what to expect. And she's like, don't expect anything. You don't need to know. If you're overanalyzing again, you're gonna feel it when you're there, and I'm there with you, so you're in a safe space and like all these things. And it really helped me after like multiple times of doing this with her to like regulate my body and the situation because knowing about it didn't actually matter. I had to feel it, which is like a scary thing if you're dealing with like heavy stuff, right? And like
Mhm.
I also had to feel what it felt like to be supported through that as well. It was a crazy experience. Like it sounds so woo woo, but like it really was the difference between knowing something and feeling it.
Yeah, and it feels like in that moment, you really realize this was the way to amplify it, but also help move through it as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because like now I'm not just feeling anxious, I'm analyzing
hmm
the anxiety. Like I was in a place where I was analyzing the anxiety about being anxious. I wasn't just feeling the things that had happened. I was like overthinking, like, well, why am I not getting over this? Because I'm aware of it. I know about all of it. And I'm just like, it's like a spiral.
Yeah, major spiral. And I've kind of seen this show up in my dating life. I always like to throw in some dating stuff because this is a very real thing, I think, for many single women around my age. I've been in these situations where I could identify every trigger in real time. So I knew why I was feeling insecure. I knew what that was connected to. I knew how it amplified in me, but I also knew the moment my body knew something was off before my brain wanted to admit it. And there was always a shift in all of that. And I can think about these moments where I'm actively aware that this is happening, but I'm like, why can't I get over it? You know what I mean? And instead of honoring that, I started over analyzing it. Like, okay, what actually is this? Is this an abandonment? Is this anxious attachment? Is it projection? Is it self-sabotage? Like all of these things that are happening. And I could feel it. And I've told people this all the time, like, I am very, very self-aware and I very much am in tune with my body. And I know when something is off, I mean, I can feel it. I was dating this guy and something was off. And I had conversations with other friends being like, oh, like he seems really great, da da da. But I was like, yeah, he's great, but like something is not right to the point
Mm.
where it made me physically sick. My body was rejecting this man. Okay. Like I knew it. I knew it. That heavy feeling you get when something isn't aligned, instead of trying to trust that. I was trying to get away, like make my way around it. I was trying to outsmart it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Thinking, oh, it's not really. it's not anything. Like I need to regulate better. I need to make sure that I'm in a place and I'm trying to course correct when I can't course correct. It was really weird.
Yeah.
And it just it did not work. When everything all ended, I realized that my body knew way before I just let myself accept it. And in that case, awareness helped me kind of name it, but it didn't give me permission to walk away sooner.
Mm. So do you feel like then the awareness helped?
Yes and no. I think sometimes it made me feel like, damn, I should have caught this sooner. And I just remember having conversations being like, why in the hell didn't I not get out?
Mm.
But because I understood it, I didn't feel like I had permission to still struggle with it. It was a really bizarre feeling. And it's something that
Yeah.
I'm always working through.
Oh, I think we all are. It's like awareness is only half of the story, right? It's like you
Mhm.
feel like I think when you're in that moment of awareness and you're like, I know this is happening, you feel like awareness means that, okay, cool. That means I know about it, so I'm like beyond it when there's like other parts to processing things.
Yes, exactly. And that's when I realized it wasn't just the growth, it was a lot of pressure behind that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the shift. When does self-awareness turn into self-surveillance?
There's a difference between understanding yourself and constantly monitoring yourself.
Yeah, self-awareness is basically saying, I see what's happening, and self-surveillance is, why am I like this? Fix it, which was like the state that was in when I went to my therapist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like there's always like it's a camera of me watching me, and that's always what it feels
And then it's
like.
like watching me, watching me, watching me. It's like, how many layers of me can I observe?
Yes. And like I mentioned, it feels like we're watching ourselves live instead of living like narrating our own emotions in real time.
Yeah, I also feel like social media has made this so much worse, where everything is framed through the healing lens now. And like healing is good, but like heal, 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 like always on.
I know. And it just seems like every reaction is trauma, every discomfort is a pattern. Mistakes are something to unpack. And while all of that is very helpful and it's nice to hear at times, but it can also make normal human experiences feel super medical, super clinical. And it just kind of loses like where we're at.
Has there ever been times where you felt like you were performing growth instead of just being real?
I think in some conflict situations, there were moments where I was really upset, genuinely hurt. But instead of saying that, I would just go into this really calm, composed, everything's fine, it's great, you know? And I would say things like, I understand why that triggered me and I'm working through it. It's fine. And yes, that's true, but it's not the full truth. Like, I'm actually pissed off and ready to crash the fuck out. Like, that is how I'm feeling. That's how I should have reacted. But I felt like because I had the tools, you know, I've gone to therapy, I've done all of these different things, that I had to use them exactly in that order. And I
Yes.
couldn't just react emotionally anymore. I just had to be like, nope, this is it. And so instead of being honest in that moment, I would just perform the healed version of me.
That is so real. I think one time I messaged you, Carlin, and Olivia, and I was like, I miss the days where you could crash out on social media. You could just
Oh,
like just go
you
on a
know,
freaking Facebook rant back that you don't even care. Sometimes where you're like, yeah, you're like, no, I understand. I get it. It's fine. I've dealt with it. But like really inside, you're like, I'm actually
yes.
fuming right now.
Yes, oh, the days where we're on Facebook and you could literally just have a status update and everybody's commenting and hyping you up in it. And now those are turned into Karen moments and people are sharing or reposting and doing it's a very different energy now.
It is. It is.
And for you, like, have you ever felt that pressure to respond perfectly instead of honestly?
Yes, literally yesterday. Okay, this is so crazy. I was in a class yesterday and the teacher asked me a question, very basic question. And instead of just answering it, I was so nervous. This is my first time in this class. I was so nervous to answer it in the way that she wanted to hear the answer that I asked her, oh, like, are you asking blah, blah, blah? And like repeated the question in a different way. And she was like, oh, Jessica, my sweet angel. That's literally what she said to me. She's like, you are worried about whether or not you can answer the question correctly instead of just answering it. There's no right answer. And I was like, damn, she really called me out because it was my first time in this class. I didn't know her. I didn't know the people in my class. And I was like scared of looking stupid. And so instead of just like answering honestly, I was like, let me make sure I know the exact criteria of how you want me to answer this before I answer what just crazy. Like, obviously, it's not like a dramatic situation, but like, I think that is a good example of I just wanted to answer perfectly instead of just blurting out the answer, which was like a pretty simple answer, too.
Right. And it's so funny because I feel like a lot of us do this more than we realize. And, in your case, the teacher called it out. She was like, "What are you doing?
Bill
Why are you
literally
answering it?"
called me out. I was like, dang.
Yeah. But a lot of the times somebody will answer something like that, very like, "Well, do you want this?" And then it's this, and then they'll go into this back and forth dialogue where they were just asking a simple question and answer it and let's keep moving. I feel like a lot of it sometimes is about like keeping that control of the situation, making sure like, yes, like I'm answering perfectly. This is how I'm presenting, and like this is how I want you to see me, and all of these different things.
Yeah, actually, my therapist, I remember, told me that like these kinds of skills or this kind of overthinking is really helpful in a business sense, which is probably
Mm,
why so many of us who are, high performing people and are overachievers and doing well successfully and things like that, it makes sense that like we think that way for our job. But then when it starts getting your personal life, it starts to be a little chaotic. And so then when we like try to apply it to our feelings and our emotions, awareness makes us feel like we understand something or we can prevent something. If I trace this back to like if I'm going to answer this perfectly, or if I can trace the reason that I'm feeling is because of X, Y, and Z and whatever attachment style, like all of those things, I can fix it forever. And that's just not how it usually works.
exactly. Or, if I think about, okay, what are these patterns? If I can catch it early, I won't repeat it, and that's just what it is. But that's not how emotions work. They are not problems that you can solve. It's not math. Like that's just not how this works.
Yeah, you cannot understand a feeling. And this is such a weird thing for someone who's like, I'm so science based, right? I'm a researcher by training. I'm very much like X equals Y because of Z, like I'm very much
Mhm.
things like that. But that's like you said, that's not how emotions work. It's not a math problem. You have to sit with it. And that sounds so woo woo when like you've come from this like experimental background, even though there is still science behind this, but like I come from that experimental science side. And so I think that's where the overload starts to happen. We confuse this awareness of like, because I understand it, then this will happen outcome. It doesn't work that way. And so we confuse that awareness with like elimination of the feeling or underlying emotion.
Yes, because it seems like at that point the goal becomes, well, we're never going to feel this again. We're not going to do this again. When essentially the healthier goal might just be feel through it and move through it. And sometimes the most regulated response isn't the most honest one. Going back to what I had said earlier, respond how you feel in the moment and not this cookie cutter response because that's not authentic to you and how you're actually feeling in that moment.
I will say one of my favorite, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, one of my favorite Taylor Swift lines is when she says, I didn't have it in myself to go with grace. And like, I'm
Mm.
sorry, that is a bar because I think about moments when I look back and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have handled that better. And I'm like, I didn't have it in me in that moment to go with grace. Like I exploded or I crashed out or whatever thing. And I'm not saying you should do that all the time, certainly. And I think that's where this comes in of what does balance look like? Because it's not like we're anti-therapy. It's not like we're anti, you know, think about the situation you're in and how you want to handle it and analyze it and be aware. But like there is balance there.
Right. I have to say real quick that I do feel like if you crash out a healthy amount of times, I think that's acceptable. I think everybody needs
Yes,
a good crash out every once in a while. Like you need to release that emotion. You cannot hold it in. So have
that's
a
part
valid
of
crash
going through
out.
it. That's part of going through it sometimes, is
You just got to
crashing
go through
out.
it. Yes, exactly.
Let's get specific then, because awareness isn't always a bad thing. So, what's one time that awareness actually did help you?
Hmm. I think when it came to the patterns I was repeating, there was a time where I was choosing emotionally inconsistent situations. And instead of blaming timing or the other person, I had to look at myself, even though it was mostly their fault, but I still had to look at myself, right? And I was drawn to intensity over stability. And once I saw that, I was able to change my standards. I stopped romanticizing potential, and I need my single girls to hear this, you have to stop romanticizing potential because all it leads is to heartbreak and disappointment. I also stopped chasing clarity from people who were not offering it. So I would say that awareness didn't stop me from feeling hurt when something didn't work out, but it really did help me choose better for next time.
I love that. It's also such a hard thing when you live in a world where that intensity thing you're talking about is like all media, right? Every love story book, every love story movie, TV show, it is that intensity. So like it's also, yeah, I think it's like something that a lot of people go through is like how do you switch that thinking of like what's real?
Exactly. And what about you? What is the time that you've wished that you stopped analyzing and just lived your life?
Oh my God, all the time. I because and I think I've talked about this before, and even when we talk about, my favorite episodes that we film every year are like the New Year's planning episodes. I'm a planner. I love to plan. I feel like I've like adjusted over the last maybe like 2 to 3 years where I kind of had this realization that like I over plan things and I don't do things, and then I'm deeply unhappy because I don't accomplish the things that I plan or because I'm just like not living the life I wanted. And so I was really stuck in a pattern of doing that for a while. I wanted to make friends and I would come up with these elaborate plans to make them and then I wouldn't execute. And I wanted to create certain content and I would come up with these elaborate content plans and then like I wouldn't execute. And I wanted to lose weight, but I'd come up with these elaborate plans and then I wouldn't do it. And so I kind of started to realize that planning was a crutch for me and that like because I do love to plan and there are times where that's a good thing to do, but it was becoming this crutch and I wasn't living my life and just doing, and it was creating this almost like fear of starting in me. And so I still to this day will check myself when I start getting in plan mode because again, it's something I enjoy doing and I get excited, but I'm like, oh, check yourself because like, it might be holding you back.
I really, really like that you said that because it's interesting how I feel like kind of common that is where you plan, plan, plan. It's like starting that resolution or starting that
Yeah.
goal, and it's like never finishing because you have this whole thing, and then you can either get overwhelmed or something happens, and then it's like, oh, I'll get back to it, and then like it just never happens. But friends, before we overanalyze this episode in real time, we're going to play overrated or underrated. So y'all know the drill. We've got a few things I'm going to ask Jess, but I'm also going to answer as well. And we're just going to say whether they're overrated or underrated. And maybe little to no explanation, but also if you want an explanation, you can do that too. So, first up, changing boundaries to make others comfortable. Overrated or underrated, Jess?
Overrated, obvious reasons.
Mm, obvious. Yeah, very overrated. Okay. Because what I'm not going to do, and I've said this before, you're not responsible for somebody's negative reaction to your boundaries. So, why would you switch up?
Hmm.
Why would you switch up? Okay. Enough
Hmm.
said. Next, journaling every single emotional reaction. Is that overrated or underrated?
What do you think? You journal.
Yeah, I would say it's appropriately rated. I think it's good to get my feelings out, but I don't think, but I also sometimes just crash out and don't journal it. So I think for when I need it, I think it makes sense, but otherwise, I think it's just appropriately rated. What do you think?
I think it's underrated. I don't journal regularly, so I mean maybe every single emotional emotion is a little extreme, but definitely when I'm struggling is when I pull out the
Hmm.
journal and it's always been helpful for me. And I also enjoy like looking back at it because it's like an interesting reflection of, oh, that was this time in my life or this is what was going on and I'm somewhere different now. And so I think it's helpful.
I agree with that. Taking space before responding, overrated or underrated?
My ideal self does this. If I'm really mad though, it's hard for me not to do like I struggle. I'm not the kind of person like it drives me nuts when I watch movies and people are like a miscommunication trope. And I'm just like, just
Oh,
fucking say what's on your mind because I'm such a person like if I'm upset with my husband, I'm not one that's gonna fester for 3 days. Like we're addressing it right now when I'm upset. Like I just am not that kind of person. So yeah,
mhm.
I struggle with this. My ideal self probably does this, and it's probably better. And there's certainly situations where I'm like, man, I should have thought about it before I responded, but I don't do that. So I don't know. Yeah, what do you think?
Um, I, I I do this sometimes. If I need the space, what I will do is pop it in a notes app. Just
That's
like
smart.
write it out. So I guess it's like a version of journaling in a sense where it's like, all right, let me go ahead and write out my feelings and then respond. Sometimes I'm just, no, I'm pissed off. I'm going to say what I need to say and you're going to hear about it. So I think it's also one of those that's like dependent on the situation. But
Totally.
okay, next. Ending a friendship for your peace. Overrated or underrated? Underrated. End it. End it. If it's not serving you, if it doesn't bring you joy, if it's not fulfilling you, end it. Enough
I have
said.
I've never regretted ending a friendship.
Absolutely not.
I always had great reason to. So yeah,
Yep.
definitely underrated. Do it.
And then the last one that we have, sitting with discomfort instead of fixing it. Overrated or underrated? What do you think?
Underrated, but it is fucking hard. Like
Mm,
it is hard. I'm a problem solver. I think there's a solution to every single problem, and it
hmm
sucks when sometimes you just have to sit there. But I have gotten better about this, I think, over the last couple of years, where I will sit there and be like, look, I may feel lost right now. I may feel confused. I may feel upset about something, but like, it's okay that I don't know the answer right now. It will come in time, and I just need to sit in this discomfort right now. And yeah, so I think underrated.
Yeah, I also agree it's underrated. I think it's growth, it's character building.
Yeah, it is.
But seriously, I think it is needed in situations where it's like, okay, let's sit with this for a little bit and then come up with a solution if needed. But otherwise, sometimes you can't fix it, and that's just what happens.
Mhm.
So that was fun. But we're going to close this one out with our last drop of tea for the day.
You don't have to analyze every feeling to justify it. Self-awareness is powerful, but you are not a project, you are a person.
It's okay to understand yourself deeply and still be imperfect. And sometimes healing isn't dissecting, sometimes it's just letting yourself live.
If this episode hit for you, send it to a friend who lives in their head just a little too much.
And come hang out with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Sisterhood Tea Party. We love hearing from you.
If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a quick 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It does help us more than you know.
We'll be back next week with more tea to spill. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Bye, friends.